So you've probably heard about the Soho Karen story in the news, but we're going to do something crazy today, right? We're going to look at that story and take race out of the equation and see if you can decide whether this woman should be charged or not. Hey, if it's your first time here, my name is Nate the Lawyer, and welcome to the Brody's Bunch, where you are the jury of today's content. Now, please take a second to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel if you like what you hear. Now, this is Miya Ponsetto. She's a 22-year-old ex-cheerleader from California. Now, she's been in the news because she left her iPhone in an Uber. Then Miss Ponsetto saw a young man with an iPhone. That young man happened to be black. She believed that that young man stole her iPhone. And then this happened.
This is my phone. Show me. No.
You don't have to explain nothing to her.
Take the case off. That's mine. Literally, get it back. Please.
Are you kidding me? You feel like there's only one iPhone made in the world?
No. Okay, then show me the. Show me all my.
You get a life
over there. What's on your background?
You better go use find my iPhone. Go do that.
Find my iPhone is on. On that right
no, you can't. No.
I'm the manager of the hotel.
I don't care.
He will
this
right
is my
now.
son.
Hey,
did you see me just come downstairs out of the fucking elevator?
I'm trying to help.
No, but you're not helping.
I am.
What you've been is disrespectful.
No, I'm trying to settle the situation.
My son has nothing to do with her.
No.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the lobby.
Then show me the proof. No, he's not leaving. Show me the proof.
Are you kidding me? You better get on.
I need you away.
Let's go, kid.
I need you away.
I'm sorry.
Better get on. We have what you see two black people.
No, I'm not letting him walk away with my phone.
Better get on somewhere.
No, please get my phone back. I cannot not have my phone.
Listen, get your ass off.
Now, first things first, even though there may be some racial undertones to this particular story, let's do something radical here. Let's evaluate the case without race. Let's see if this woman's actions are outrageous enough where we can just judge it for what it is instead of layering it with these racial undertones. Now, you've already seen the full and complete video without interruption. Let me just give you a quick run through of the facts. The 14-year-old that was tackled had committed no crime. He stole no phone. And Miss Ponsetto wasn't given any permission or consent to tackle this young man. Now, another fact that you have to be aware of before we get into this is that Miss Ponsetto left her iPhone in an Uber and it was returned to her. Now that you've seen the video and now that we have a clear understanding of the facts, so I'm going to ask you guys to be members of my grand jury. Now, this is really to see if this woman should be charged with any type of criminal activity. Now, here are the charges we're going to be looking at: battery, assault, false imprisonment, and robbery. Now, for those of you legal nerds out there who know that New York, for instance, doesn't have battery in the criminal code, we are using the common law definitions of crimes, which you'll find on the bar exam. Now, we're going to go through the elements of each crime, and you're going to vote and tell me whether you believe that there's enough evidence to arrest this woman or if there's not enough evidence to arrest this woman on any of these particular charges. So first, let's start with our legal standard. Now, we're not going to be judging if she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We're going to be looking at this from the aspect of probable cause. Now, you're probably asking, well, what is probable cause? Probable cause is whether there's a reasonable basis to believe that a crime may have been committed and that Ms. Ponsetto was the person who committed that crime. So this is the standard that generally police use for arrest and grand juries use to indict individuals. Now, you do have to understand this is a lower standard than proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And remember, Ms. Ponsetto is innocent. And even if you find that there's enough evidence that there's probable cause to arrest her for a battery, that doesn't mean she's guilty of anything. So that's the first thing I want to make sure that we're all clear about. So let's go over some of the elements for battery. First, the defendant had to engage in a voluntary physical act, right? If the defendant had a seizure, then that wouldn't be a battery. If, the defendant had a seizure and hit someone, that is not a battery. A battery is a voluntary physical act. That voluntary physical act involved the application of force to another person. It's important to understand with this element that the defendant didn't need to apply force directly to the victim. See, the force could be applied indirectly. If I tell my dog to get you or something like that, that would be enough where I didn't apply the force directly, but through some means I did, the dog, for instance. That would also be enough. Now, the last element is that the application of force resulted in contact that was either harmful to the victim, caused the person an injury, or offensive to the victim. For instance, slapping somebody and not causing injury, even though you didn't cause an injury. That's pretty crazy. And last, was it intentional? Did she intend to do this or not? So, in looking at the video, is there a reasonable basis to believe that the crime of battery has been committed? Second, let's look at the crime of assault. Now, in a majority of jurisdictions, assault is defined as either an attempt to commit a battery. So in other words, you're trying to batter someone, but you don't complete it. You don't actually make contact with the person, for instance. Or it's the intentional creation of a reasonable apprehension of fear in the mind of the victim of imminent bodily harm. So here for assault, we're talking about putting people in fear of being harmed. This would be pulling a gun out and pointing at someone. You may not shoot them, but that would put someone in fear of imminent bodily harm. And obviously, it has to be intentional. Is Miss Ponsetto putting this father and son in fear of being physically harmed by lunging?
What you see two black people?
No, I'm not letting him walk away with my phone.
Better get on
No,
somewhere,
please
lady.
get my phone back. I cannot not have my phone.
Listen, get your ass off.
Is there a reasonable fear of imminent harm? Is there a reasonable basis to believe that the crime of assault has been committed enough to arrest this woman? The next common law crime we're going to look at is false imprisonment. Now, again, we're looking at common law crimes and not statute from New York State, because again, this is like we're going through this like a bar exam. So we know the facts of the case. So what are the elements for false imprisonment? Well, you have to have an intentional unlawful confinement of a person without their valid consent. Now, confinement requires that the victim be either compelled to go where they don't wish to go or remain somewhere they don't wish to remain. This is an important part when we're talking about false imprisonment. It's not enough that the confinement merely prevents someone from going where they want to go, right? If there's alternate routes available, then they haven't been falsely imprisoned. They haven't been confined. And this confinement can be done with actual force, threats of force, or a show of force. So in this case, we're looking to see if there are any words spoken, like you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay here. Whether there was any force used to keep the person in a location they did not want to go. So again, that's a difference between her saying you're not leaving through this door and you can go out the back versus you're not going anywhere. You're staying right here.
Then show me the proof. No, he's not leaving. Show me the proof.
See two black people?
No, I'm not letting him walk away with my phone. Not have my phone.
Listen, get your ass off.
And also consider whether there was any force to use to keep that person there. So, our jury question: is there a reasonable basis that this woman should be arrested for false imprisonment? And finally, robbery. So, when we talk about robbery, we're talking about the intentional taking of another's property, or even threat of taking of the other's property, by force or threat of force or intimidation. Give it to me or else. The final element of a robbery is that the defendant wanted to permanently deprive the owner of the enjoyment of the property, right? You wanted to take it and not give it back. So if the person took the property and intended to eventually give it back, then you won't have a robbery. So here, did this perpetrator intend to keep this 14-year-old's phone permanently?
Show me. No.
You don't have to explain nothing to her.
Take the case off. That's mine. Literally, get it back.
Are you kidding me? You feel like there's only one iPhone made in the world?
No. Okay, then show me the. Show me all
No,
my.
you get a life.
Over
Yeah,
there.
no,
What's
go
on your
on.
background?
You better go use find my iPhone. Go
Yeah.
do that.
Find my iPhone is on.
King,
On now.
come
Right
in.
now.
No, you can't. No,
I'm
you
the manager
can't.
of the
I
hotel.
don't care.
He will
This is
right
my
now.
son.
Hey,
Did you see me just come downstairs out of the fucking elevator?
I'm trying to help.
No, but you're not helping.
I
What
am.
you've been is disrespectful.
No, I'm trying to settle the
No.
situation.
My
asking
son
for-
has nothing to do with her.
No.
I'm trying to figure
yeah,
out what's
but
going
he has
on
my
in the
phone.
lobby.
Then show me the proof. No, he's not leaving. Show me the proof.
Are you
Show me
kidding
the
me?
proof.
You better get on.
If not, you don't have a robbery. Our question: is there a reasonable basis to believe that the crime of robbery has been committed enough to make an arrest? Do you believe this woman intentionally, by force, tried to take this young man's property? To deprive him of the enjoyment of it permanently? That's something you're going to have to work out. Or if she did take it and saw it wasn't her phone, would she then have given it back? So at the end of the day, how did you come out? The NYPD has issued an arrest warrant for this woman, so she's going to have to answer these charges eventually. But I think even if you remove race from the situation and just looked at the common law, it seems outrageous even on its face. And it seems like the law doesn't allow this type of thing to happen. Now, if you reach this part of the video and you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? You know you like this stuff. So hit me with a subscribe. Don't forget to like this video and share this video if you thought it was helpful. My name is Nate, lawyer and YouTuber, and I'll see you next time. Peace.